Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Wednesday, December 15th. Actually, it's Tuesday. God forbid I'm getting a day ahead. Tuesday, December 15th, 2009. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Mexico City, it's 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. Well, in about an hour and a half at Everett Field in Washington, an event of great import is going to occur. The Boeing 787 Dreamliner is going to fly for the first time, knock on wood. The Boeing company is going to have the plane take off and take its initial flight. We understand that the entire flight, or at least the takeoff, is going to be shown live in the United States and worldwide on the business network CNBC. That would be at 1 p.m. Eastern Time today, or I guess that would be 6 p.m., 1800 hours Greenwich Mean Time. So if you're interested in watching that, we certainly will be watching that. We've been covering that for quite some time. Now to our main news. It centers again in Copenhagen. Ban Ki-moon, the UN Secretary General, has told nations involved in the climate change talks they have to stop pointing fingers and increase their pledges to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Tensions are rising there. Protests in the street have increased. Now, according to Associated Press, a group of non-denominational ministers in Holland have begun to protest outside the meeting site, pleading their case, hoping that the leaders can come to some agreement. The Secretary General's warning came as world leaders begin gathering in Copenhagen for the final few days of the two-week summit. The UN Secretary General said, "Time is running out. There is no time for posturing or blaming. If everything is left to leaders to resolve at the last minute, we risk having no deal at all. This would be a failure of potentially catastrophic consequence." That's from the Secretary General. His comments came a day after a number of developing countries temporarily boycotted the talks. Negotiations resumed, but deep divisions remain between rich and poor countries over emissions targets, as well as financing for developing countries to deal with global warming. More than 110 world leaders are expected at the climax of the talks, including President Obama and Wen Jiabao, the Chinese Prime Minister. Robert Mugabe, of all people, from Zimbabwe, was among the first heads of state to arrive. He got to Copenhagen this morning. Even though there's a travel ban on him imposed by Western nations, he should have been arrested. Gordon Brown, the British Prime Minister, is arriving now. He's getting there 2 days earlier than expected in an attempt to help push the talks forward. We'll see what happens. This is going to be a potential disaster if they can't come to an agreement. In the United States, if you were watching cable TV this morning, you know this already. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has recalled more than 50 million Roman-style shades and roll-up blinds because of the risk that children may be strangled by the cords. The CPSC said that 5 deaths and 16 near strangulations from such shades have been reported since 2006. Roman shades can become dangerous, the agency said, if a child's neck gets stuck between the exposed inner cord and the fabric on the back side of the blind, or if the cord gets wrapped around the child's neck. Yes, roll-up blinds do pose a strangulation threat if the lifting loop slides off the side of the blind and a child's neck becomes entangled on it. The Commission and the industry urge parents to examine all shades and blinds in their home and make sure they have no accessible cords. Several major retailers, including Walmart, JCPenney, and Pottery Barn, are participating in the recall. You can visit the CPSC website to learn more information. Some economic news that's affecting the stock market. The stock market's down about 18 points right now. Inflation has reared its head. At the wholesale level in the U.S., it surged in November. This reflected price jumps in energy and other products. The bigger than expected increase is almost certain to raise the attention of Federal Reserve policymakers, who today began a 2-day meeting on interest rates. The Federal Reserve has been able to keep interest rates at record low levels, but if inflation pressures begin to mount, you can bet that the bank will start raising rates sooner than expected. The Labor Department said that wholesale prices increased 1.8% in November, more than double the 0.8% gain analysts expected. core inflation, which excludes energy and food, rose 0.5%, the biggest increase in more than a year. And in the Philippines, in the town of Legazpi, Legaspi, tens of thousands of villagers are fleeing this volcano. This is the Mayon volcano. It began to spew ash and lava into the sky earlier today. Soldiers and police have evacuated more than 20,000 people living within 5 miles of the mountain. Authorities are hoping to evacuate up to 50,000 people from villages within 8 miles of the volcano by tomorrow. And Wells Fargo is now apparently on track to repay their TARP money. The Chief Executive Officer, John Stump, last night, actually this morning, declined to provide details of Wells Fargo's talks with the government regarding its decision to repay the TARP funds. Stump was asked in a conference call this morning to discuss the talks with the government about how the payback terms were established, and he said, "I don't think it's productive, and I'm really not in a position to discuss the discussions and negotiations with the other party. I just don't think it would be productive." Wells Fargo said late last night that it will become the last of the original set of big American banks to repay the government's investment under the TARP plan. Wells will sell about $10.4 billion of common stock this morning, that's already in progress, and use the proceeds to pay back a part of the $25 billion government investment. Stump said, "All I know is in our case, we thought it was in our shareholders' interest to do this thing now at this raise," meaning the equity raise, "and given that, we were allowed to repay the TARP in full." Stock market, as I said, is down about 17 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors and come back with the rest of the news.
This is a representation of the CATEX Global Exchange, showing how a transaction between a broker and a market might work. Here, a market in London is looking for a way to diversify its risk, but the paperwork involved is daunting, and the market knows it is a tedious process. Fortunately, this market is a member of the CATEX Global Exchange. The market will have an access page to the exchange where it can log on and see the risks that have been posted by brokers it knows for review. Here, the market sees that 2 brokers it knows have posted opportunities. The market is interested in diversifying and may well be interested in an aircraft hull risk. The exchange allows brokers to securely make risk information available to markets that they work with. Markets can review information at their leisure before deciding whether to move forward. If, after analyzing the information available, the market is interested in bidding on the risk, it enters the terms of its bid on the exchange's secure system. The market can take comfort that its bid information will only be seen by the broker which posted the risk. In real time, the broker in New York can see that the market is interested and has made an offer. Here, the broker wants to counterbid and enters its counteroffer into the system. Again, in real time, the market sees the counteroffer. After taking whatever time it deems appropriate and, if it wishes, going back over any information on the risk that it wants to review again or in more detail, the market can decide whether or not to accept the counteroffer or further modify its offer. Here, the market decides to accept the counteroffer. In New York, the broker sees that the counteroffer has been accepted. The broker signals it is ready to finalize the transaction. In London, the market sees that the transaction has been finalized. The CATEX Global Exchange allows parties to move quickly and efficiently, with access to all information they need to securely interact with only parties they want to do business with. It's a great feeling. Parties can take additional comfort if they use CATEX's pivot point system, knowing that transactions seamlessly download from the exchange into their back office system. CATEX, an unfair advantage unless you're trading with us.